welcome to Dave and Callie Show. Well, I know you guys haven't seen me in a bit. I've been busy working on other projects, but today is really, really special. I have a friend that I've been kind of hounding to try to get him to come on my show and talk about some stuff that's just unbelievable, a whole different perspective because he sees it from a whole different part of the world. And this guy is called American in Exile. And when I say American in Exile, I really mean American in Exile. So let's bring in John and see what he has to say of why he's in exile. Hey, John.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good, good. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on my show. I know it's been kind of hard to make all the arrangements and because you guys are like 4 hours difference, so I have to get up in the wee morning hours just so that it's midday for you.
It's here midday. It's midday here in central mountains of Brazil. And even then, we're still an hour ahead of the Eastern Standard Time Zone.
Okay.
So it's
well, real quick, let everybody know, just briefly, how an American ends up down in Brazil and feels like he's in exile.
well, basically, what happened to me was it's happened to a lot of other people. Probably the most noted one would be General Flynn. When you buck up against society the way it is now, and against the communist or socialist regime, you don't have very good luck, like I did either. But basically, what happened was it started out small. It started out around 2016, 2017 with Facebook making things about statements about Trump and this, that, and the other, and supporting Trump and some other friends of mine who also used to work for the government too. Some were former FBI agents. Some DEA, and it's just the point of all of a sudden they started coming down on us.
Okay, and because you guys worked in the government, that was more than to them, rather than just everyday guy like me, but because you had inside information and knowledge, they wanted to shut that down really quick. Then,
actually, because we had more connections on a lot of things, but still just the same. The bad actors, so to speak, they're bad actors. And even though we knew that we were being chastised and we were being cut back on all that stuff at the beginning. And then finally, for me, they started coming down on me with eBay. I had a business on eBay because I'd been retired and selling DVDs and CDs, what have you. They came down on me there. And then they hit me at PayPal. They cut my PayPal off. So then they came after me. They came after my house with the Fannie Mae. They started canceling, and their trick on me was they kept on canceling the insurance companies, and each one would be like another $300 or $400 higher, until finally it got to the point of the mortgage payment was more than I could afford and was almost double what the original payment was 6 months earlier. And when I contacted Fannie Mae, I said, "Hey, come on, what's going on? We got the pandemic going on, the whole 9 yards, and I'll still never forget this as long as I live." I said, "Are you trying to tell me that I'm screwed?" And her exact words back to me, she said, "Yes, sir, you're screwed." That's exactly what she said. Yes,
well, you have family down, so you were lucky that you had family, so you just
I don't want to get into long history, whatever, but I had a wife. A wife and children, 4 children here in Brazil, and we were going to move to the United States. I was going to bring them back to the United States because I had been renting my house out. But now all of a sudden they want to and they ended up with the whole 9 yards on me. They got the house, they got my cars, they got everything inside the house, including my toothbrush. I left there with a knapsack with 2 or 3 shirts and a couple pairs of pants. That's all I left with. That's all I left with. And to this day, all I do is I still get my Social Security check. That's all I get. Yeah. And even then, that's not much to live off of. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true.
And I decided after I've been watching Dave Jose and Josh Barnett ever since the beginning, since the selections, and I followed them until finally I figured maybe it's time for me to come out and start to say what I know.
Well, right. Yeah, but you you have a really unique perspective from where you're at, which most people probably don't even think about. That's why I'm telling everybody, you need to go check out John and subscribe and get connected with him, because you'll find out stuff before it even happens at our borders. I've got a little clip, I shortened it a little bit, that I could show up from your show, so people will kind of get an idea of, some of the stuff that you put out there. Because you are down in Brazil, you're even further south, so you know about people coming up from South America, going through Mexico, and some of the ordeals they're going through. Well, let me show.
It's happening right now.
Yeah,
it's happening right now here. This is where it's beginning.
Okay,
beginning.
Let me show this. I got to switch over here. Go to that, and boom.
Well, hello everyone, an American in exile again. Take a look at this video.
That it was posted on another person that is a really accurate journalist from Tapachula.
Who's this guy?
That's
Breaking news
Oscar.
for
It's my
everybody.
connection in
They're
Mexico.
already organizing a caravan.
He's a
for
Mexican
the 15th of
nationalist
April.
who's also a reporter.
Why they are organizing a caravan for the 15th of April? Because it's going to take them apparently 1 week to get to the borders of Guatemala. Let's say that it will reorganize and get another 10 days, 10 to 15 days to exit the state of Chiapas, and from there land on the north borders just in time when Title 42 will be lifted.
Wow.
23rd of May, it is exactly around the time that it will be arriving, this caravan, all the way to the north. I'm not exaggerating.
Pretty much what I've just told you. There's other information out too. I will probably get out tomorrow a video of over 1,000 more new refugees from the Ukraine have showed up at Tijuana.
Wow. Yeah,
Well,
so
it ended up more than 1,000. It ended up closer to 3,000 from the Ukraine. And also Russian immigrants showed up there too, but they were not allowed to cross into America. Go figure.
Yes, and you would mention something about kind of a embassy near you or something, and you kind
Okay. Once a month, I go into Brasilia, the capital of Brazil.
Uh-huh.
And we do shopping because we don't. There's no where I live. There's not a real supermercado, new supermarket. So we go and we shop there at the big brand names that they have down there. And at lunchtime, we found a restaurant about 8 months ago. This by where the embassies are, and this is where the embassy staff eat lunch. And we went in there, and naturally, when they hear somebody speaking English, it attracts a lot of attention.
Yeah,
And it started one by one. I had people from the American embassy, hey, come on, sit over at our table, this, that, and the other. Canadian embassy. Next thing you know, I'm making friends with people from Saudi Arabia. And by the way, that's one good connection I've got there. He loves America and said he's going to come to America to live one day. And he's just filled full of information about what's going on with Russia and how they feel about Iran. It's these guys know so much because they're around the talk around the embassies. Everybody, believe it or not, as much as everybody's dismayed about America, they all still look up to America. It's what we do.
Sure,
what we do designates what's going to happen in their country. Even here in Brazil, Bolsonaro is the president. They've got an election coming up in October. Lulu is the name of the former president. He's the one going up against two crooks going against each other. Well, but Bolsonaro, this is a socialist country. Believe it or not, you might.
Yeah.
Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro might look like downtown New York City or Cleveland, Ohio, or Atlanta, Georgia, but you step one bit across the line into Farvilla, police don't even go in there.
Yeah.
So in other words, it might look like it's a free country, just like Russia does. If you see Moscow, all the cars driving down, it's not. And what Bolsonaro has actually already made the statement was that if he finds himself behind in the polls, he's going to take it over by coup. So he's got the military in his pocket, and he's got the police in his pocket. So,
well, talking about wait a minute, talking about military and talking about whether people like Americans or not. I've got another clip that you did. This is why I want everybody to see these things because they really need to subscribe to you. so that they get firsthand, get it from you first. I mean, we're getting and seeing stuff that you don't see on mainstream media or even a lot of other YouTube channels. So let me show this one real quick. And, yeah.
So once again, things are boiling up again in South America and in Central America. This is not going to stop. I have a feeling this is going to come to. People are worried about China and Taiwan. You better start looking south of the border now, folks, because these people are heated up. Americans are just about on the verge of being an extinct commodity, so to speak, in Central and South America. They do not like Americans anymore. They are blaming us because they can't get to the government. They're getting to the, they want to get to the people. So this is something to look out for in the future.
Well, I don't know what she's saying there, but
Basically, they're indoctrinating the new soldiers into the
that
into
looked
their
like a civilian army.
Oh, it is a civilian. Those are
Yeah.
vigilantes.
Okay.
That's
what
your
I'm-
next door neighbor and the guy across the street with shotguns.
Right. Jeez.
Oh, and it's especially right now. It's only being that I understand. It's only in Mexico right now where the disdain and the hate for Americans are. I doubt very much if it's like that in Cancun, what have you. But no, every place people you do not want to go to. You do not want to go to Mexico at all, because if they find out you're an American, they're going to tear you apart.
If
Because
you're down in the southern
Right,
part of Mexico.
well, they can't get to the administration, they can't get to Biden, and they can't get to Nancy Pelosi. I guess you're the next best thing.
Yeah. So as a tourist, I'm sure that the tourist areas are not too bad. But I mean, if you go further south and get away from the touristy areas, you don't want to be caught out there by yourself. In other words.
No, not at all. I mean, this is not a time for Americans to be out gallivanting around the globe. It's not a good time.
Wow, that's too bad.
But it's like I said, getting back to before what we talked about, is there are a lot of people, there are other people that I know of that have stayed silent in America. And as much as I hooked up with Dave Jose with the affidavits and the subpoenas, which are actually working in Wisconsin and in Arizona, for me, I need to get back to America. And I get back there, I'll probably be arrested. I know that eventually because, hey, I'm 72 years old. I'm not a spring
unless
chicken
the
anymore.
administration changes.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
you don't think
Because
so? Oh, you got something else going on.
there's other things too that are going on that I got my first strike for. I got my first week vacation for it, for
Yeah.
saying it on that. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
It has to deal with Matt Gaetz
Yeah.
and who he's going to bring up for voting for whatever office there's going to be available. But the point behind it is, that's been a reality for well over a year. I heard there's actually another person's name that people should put on the tip of their tongue or in the back of their minds. Her name is Maria Stark. She's a lobbyist. She's been around Washington for years. I even knew who she was. Now, she happened to have been in, and I can't remember, and I wish I had more resources. This is going back right after the selection. She was in Germany, and she was doing a piece on an Italian whistleblower who was arrested and jailed in Italy, and of course that's all been brought out, and but yet nothing has been said about it in America. But there was a general, tall, skinny guy, looked to be about 85 years old, and he actually told everything about connections with the what words I'm trying to use. Let me see. With the connections, let's put it this way, the connections between routers, with routers, which made their way to Italy and what have you. Of course, the guy was jailed, and of course they got him out of the country, and he's currently in the United States ready to testify when that particular time comes up. But her name is Maria Stark. She's the one that actually said that about a month ago that she saw in Brnovich, the Arizona Attorney General's office, that she had seen a small pile of a warrant sign. And sure enough, one of them ended up against Katie Hobbs, but of course it was sent down to a local journal. I mean, these are things that aren't getting any notice to it. but they all lead up to one thing or another.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I wonder who else is in that stack. What else is in that stack? But I heard the same thing. I heard that same rumor. You know, but
Oh yeah,
of course, if it
there's
sits
a
on
lot-
his desk, it doesn't do any good unless it.
Brnovich is kind of like, in my honest opinion, he's kind of like the Pillsbury Doughboy in my book. He does good, but he's still a rhino.
Yeah.
He's not doing the people in America, including me. I mean, you know, we want to see some action. If you show us, just give us something to go on. Because we know all the bad. I mean, when you talk about the hundreds and the thousands of people that they've got videotapes of, and none of these people, or only 2 or 3, have been brought to justice.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, and they're throwing
Yeah.
small fines on them. This is you know, we want to see, for lack of better words, we want to see a public hanging at the Capitol building for treason. And to be honest with you, there is without a doubt, because I've talked to people that know the Constitution, Pelosi, Schumer have definitely, without a doubt, have committed treason, and it'll come to fruition one day.
Yeah.
It'll come one day. It'll come up there. It's just the point of everybody is so. We want things done yesterday, and it doesn't work that way especially when you have the legal system not working with you.
I know.
I don't know if you remember, Dave. Do you remember last Christmas? Do you remember Christmas gone by? That red what do you call it? That SUV, the red or maroon SUV that ran through the people, the crowd at the parade.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last time you heard anything about that?
Gosh, yeah, you're
I
right.
just brought it up that you haven't heard
Yeah.
about since Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. They have to take time. They've got to prepare their case and the whole 9 yards. So you wait until it gets closer to Christmas, maybe around November. Boom, it'll be back up in the news and being talked about again.
Right.
This is one thing that I do know about the legal system is it's got to take its time. They've got to do that. But Brnovich, on the other hand, this is not something normal. He had 6 months where he kept his mouth shut, and he was on every single Fox, CNN, anything he could get. He could get a 3 or 4 minutes of prime time out of. He was speaking about everything, every single thing he could, with the exception of the selection.
Right.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing. But there's a lot of things that are. This is the worst thing that's going to happen to America now. Coming up now is going to be the border crisis, and it's going to be worse than the border crisis. I did mention that I've got a neighbor for about 3 doors down. Was 3 doors down. His family's there now.
Yeah.
He's one that back, I believe it was July or August, he left to go to the border for America.
Really?
And we just found out a couple days ago he's in, I won't mention the name of the city, but it's in South Carolina. And the government has given him a house.
What?
They flew him there. Oh, he actually went, they did lose a couple of their children, were in the shuffle there at the border. He said he was at the Arizona. He remembers Arizona. And he didn't speak English very well. Some of the words that I taught him used to help them get through. But they took him and his family. They lost the children there in Arizona, and they were
So they got
reunited.
separated.
They were reunited again in Phoenix, Arizona. Now in Phoenix, they stayed. They put him up in a hotel for around 3 weeks or so. He thinks it might have been longer. They paid for all the meals. They took care of everything, but they were told they were not allowed to leave that motel, hotel, whatever it was. They weren't allowed to, if they left, they were going to be, if it was just a child or if it was an adult, one of the adults, whoever it was going to be shuffled off immediately back to America. Back to Mexico. And that was it. There's no excuses. And so therefore nobody bothered to show up the windows, keep away from the windows, the whole 9 yards. He said basically everybody felt threatened by the authorities. They felt threatened the whole way. He said they were not really treated. He said they were treated good, but they were not treated like
With respect.
they were worth anything.
Yeah.
In other words, it's kind of like we're shoving you around to get you out of the way so we can get the next batch out. And that's the way they felt. But they were scared. They were scared of the American authorities. They didn't have badges, a lot of them. They just point blank, they knew they were in charge.
So why did he get this house? It was actually, is it given to him,
no,
or are they renting it for him?
Well, I've got to find more information because, like I said, I was told that he had gotten from at Phoenix after they released him. They sent them to a new area, which is in South Carolina. They flew him and the family all the way over from Phoenix across the country over to South Carolina, and he said they ended up in a house. It's I saw the picture on the cell phone. It looks like it's maybe 10 to 12 years old, maybe a little older. Nice looking 2-story home, wood frame looks like, nice lawn. I mean, I don't have anything right now, so let anything look better for me. But the point of it is they also got money. Now I'm trying to find out how much money, and I don't know if I'll be able to get that because they've been threatened at every, not to tell your family back in Brazil or Guatemala or wherever.
How have you been able to communicate?
I go their family lives across the street, at 3 doors down. That's where he lived. That was his. They rent this house here. It's most places they rent here. The owners of these houses are the farm owners, and they buy property up and rent them out. It's not cheap either. It's people here in Central South America. You live 2-3 families to a house. That's the only way you can get ahead.
Another thing, real quick, because you just reminded me. Everybody out here is bitching and complaining about gasoline. Like my truck, I just put in $132 to fill up my Ford pickup, right? Out here in California. Tell them what a tank of gas costs you.
Okay. The guy that I borrowed, the one guy directly across the street that I borrowed the car from, it's one of those small Toyotas, and it doesn't have a 20-gallon tank on it. Make a long story short, gasoline here in Central South, the rest of the world gets it by the litro. In America, we're by the gallon. Remember, we're not we still use our own methods and systems. Okay, litro. There's 4 litros to a gallon. Gasoline right now is just a hair above $8 a litro. So times that by 4, that's $32 a gallon. Think of that. Think 20 gallons, 20 times that. That's to fill up.
Goodness.
People in the southern end of Brazil travel across the border to Argentina, where it's only about $8 or $9 a gallon.
Wow, and they're happy to pay it.
They're happy to pay it.
Yeah,
they're happy to pay it.
Oh,
but you don't see many people. Don't waste there. There's a lot of mopeds and a lot of small motorcycles around. And the ironic part about here is you see cars driving around the street that could be a brand new one. Approximately 90% of the vehicles here in Brazil don't have insurance. So if you get in an accident, you better hope that the guy that you got in an accident from isn't carrying a gun or is bigger than you are if you're at fault, because you're not probably going to be able to pay him his $4,000 or $5,000 for his bent up fender and hood.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets very dangerous. They don't even bother talking about it anymore. Somebody gets in an accident, you get in an accident, you look at your car, you look at the other person. It's pretty much a 1, 2, 3 deal, and then you go put your thumb up, go fine, bye. Yeah. You take your losses.
But so how do you get all your your not so much information up here, but I mean down there it seems like you get a lot of information. Obviously you've got some friends there at the embassy. You've got
the embassy is one thing, but we get a lot of it's in the town here usually at lunchtime. That's the one. There's breakfast is pretty much not known around here, and dinner is really not known. It's lunch is the big deal. And when you have a larger family, we do the buffet. The place is called Planalto, and it's like a buffet, but you only go up one time with your plate, and they charge you a minimal amount. It works out with the inflation and everything else. It's a lot cheaper than going to the supermarket. So we eat lunch there, and you can also take what food you have on your plate. They'll give you like a doggy bag to take it back. So in other words, you have to learn to economize on no matter what it is, because things are not cheap. I mean,
so it's kind of like a town square situation where everybody comes in, finds out what's going on, and chit chat. And
well, there's also another American here in this village here. Really? He used to be a pilot. He used to fly some of the rich ranchers in, if you want to call it an airport. It's a landing strip that you got to be careful the cattle aren't on when you try to land. But he lives here, and I talked with him, and he was with the Air Force, and his son lives in Oklahoma City, and it's like I said, there's a lot, like I said, a lot of information that I get from him because he talks to a lot of his military buddies, and that's one thing he said has been mute about is he hasn't heard much about the military doing anything, which is a little bit odd, my point. But we're going to have to see what happens. We're going to have to see what happens with that. It's really. I'm just surprised that I don't even want to say it because I don't want to give anybody any bad ideas. But you know, with what happened to JFK and what happened to Governor Wallace, I'm surprised nobody's made any attempts at trying to knock anybody off. That is really surprising to me because the money is that somebody would have at least been trying to do something about that because you see how violent some of these people are. But I'm like I said, I hope everything stays peaceful. That's the main key for our survival and our being able to get our country back. Now, that's another thing with me is if I go back there, I'm going to do something. I'm going to get back there. I'm going to do something about these subpoenas and these affidavits. They're going to know that I'm in, you know, the boss is back in town. I mean, they're going to literally know that. And I have a couple other people that I've talked to. Some say like, I don't know, I don't feel like going to jail in my 70s. You know, I said, well, you know, come on, we all go together. You know, it's just the old timers.
We'll all go together.
Yeah, we'll all go together.
We'll have lunch and dinner and a roof over our head. And...
Hey, I don't have to worry about it. But, you know, you don't have to worry about paying taxes. You don't have to worry about your Dodge Viper. You don't have to worry about anything like that. You know, it's none of the old worries that you have. But the seriousness of the border is, and the things that people can understand. I've tried to look from a different point of view. And my different point of view is people see, oh, we got problems at the border. Yes, there's problems with people who live in, you know, the border states, with people running in, you know, across their properties and stealing things. But what they don't see is the humanitarian thing in all of this. Right. They don't see that by the day, hundreds of people every day, and I'm not exaggerating when I say hundreds of people all the way from the southern tip of Peru to Argentina, all the way up to the American border. These people are dying on the mountain roads. They're dying in the rainforest valleys. And all that they're doing with the bodies is they're shoving them off the cliffs. I mean, what do you do with the dead body you see them? They shove them off the cliffs. What did the military do? Shove them off the cliffs. Wow. And just like the one video I had with the bus that went off with the migrants, that was graphic. And there were people on that bus who go 1,000 feet down to the bottom.
Yeah. So we're just about out of time, but real quick, this is the time to do your real quick elevator pitch. Looks like you kind of froze up. I hope I didn't lose you.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, okay, your screen froze up for a second. Okay, so give us your elevator pitch for your channel and how they can find you and any particulars that you want. And so you got about a minute.
All right. Well, basically, the channel is An American in Exile. It's me, and I bring pretty much mostly all stuff about the border, which is probably going to be in everybody's mind, mostly with the exception of selections. I need to get back to America. I really do. And the only way I can do it is by doing this. I didn't initially start because I love my country and I want to save it. I get back there, I'm doing something about it because I'm hooking directly up with Dave Jose and Josh Barnett in Arizona. And I'm taking off from there. So if you're a politician in Arizona, I make it back to Arizona, don't bother. Don't even bother going for your election because I'll be there at City Hall and every other place. But no, I need the subscribers. I need the likes. I mean, I will also welcome the comments. I mean, I got to be careful how I answer because they're paying attention to me. A little small me. Yeah. They've already nailed me with 2 different videos. Yeah. The first one, I don't know. I mean, they don't bother with somebody that has that few, you know, and they know, YouTube knows who I am. Yeah.
All right. Sure so I'm just about out of time here. So guys, I just want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe here at Dave and Callie, of course. Go check out John's channel, American in Exile. And unfortunately, we're out of time, and we'll have to see you on the next one. All righty. Bye-bye.
God bless America.